My name is John Murphy. Very happy you're with us again here at WILI, AM 1400 and 95.3 on the FM. We also have the WILI YouTube channel where you get all of our afternoon and of course, the morning shows with Wayno are online now at the website. If you go to WILI Radio at YouTube, you get all of our shows. If you miss a show live, which we are now, you can always catch us online anytime on any device. We're going to have a lot of music in the show this week. We're going to talk about a blues festival happening in New Britain. It's going to benefit musicians in need and music education. We'll be talking about that for the second part of the show today. And we're going to open right now with Sarah Kaufold. I'm very happy to have her back in the studio. I've had Sarah here a few times over the years. She's part of an incredible choral community, and they have a concert coming up in November that we're here to talk about that's kind of seasonally related, and it connects a very deep tradition of choral singing with original composition. So, Sarah, welcome back to the studio. It's always good to have you here.
Thank you so much, Don. I love being here. It's great.
You bet. Well, let's start out with the obvious thing that brings you here, is your whole thing is happening on November 16th?
No, November 2nd.
November 2nd, I'm sorry. Oh, 16th is a community event.
That's right. This is our professional choir on November 2nd. First
things first. Okay, this is going to be happening in Tolland, and I'll let you describe what's going to happen that night when people get together.
Absolutely. So the concert is called The Thinning of the Veil, Reconnecting with the Lost, and it features Voices of Consinity, which is our professional ensemble. It's a vocal chamber ensemble, 12 members, and this concert is especially interesting and compelling because we also have dancers that will be joining us for this concert. Ecclesia Contemporary Ballet will be joining us for this concert. So they're not dancing on every song, but at least a few of them. They will be sort of representing the spirit of the music and the quality of the sound sort of melded into a visual experience as well. So Thinning of the Veil is this idea of one day a year, sort of, around the Halloween time, which, in other cultures, Samhain, where just that veil between the living and the afterlife is thin and a chance to sort of reconnect. If you think of Dia de los Muertos as also another
fabulous
tradition. Yes, that's also sort of around the 1st or 2nd of November. And so this is on November 2nd. And also a lot of churches celebrate All Souls Day or All Saints Day, which is sort of the same idea. And so a lot of the music is sort of related to that time when those cross over into the afterlife, but also a way that those that are left behind, can connect or just find peace, comfort, healing in that process. So one of the songs we're doing is on the poetry, Do Not Stand at My Grave and Weep, which is really just a beautiful representation of those that are left behind, almost a message from, someone who has gone beyond. And so it's meant to be just a beautiful, hauntingly gorgeous sound, sort of melded with this idea of transporting all of us.
It does, and we're going to hear some music in a few minutes, a sample, because it is a transcendent sound that will transport you somewhere, because there's not the usual elements of percussion and rhythm. It's a whole different space when it's voice only, with the acoustics of the place. And there's a recording they're finished with that has been a real labor of love now. It's available streaming. That was recorded in this church. And maybe we could talk briefly about, since we're going to hear some audio that was recorded there. Kind of give us a teaser of the church and what it was like to record there, and not like in a regular, quote, studio space, and what it was like for the voices.
Well, the reason we chose this church was because it had a very large altar space where we could easily sort of congregate and sing, because we like to be able to see each other since we're a chamber ensemble. It's real important that, we sing in an arc and that we can sing together. And so this space offered that, which was really, really helpful. It has a nice acoustic. It's not too boomy and not too dry. And so it's kind of a real good representation of how we sound as an ensemble. And we had a great recording artist, or sound engineer from New York, Jen Nilsson, and she did a great job of making us sound like us. Not something that's overly engineered or
Right.
smoothed out.
Right.
It sounds like us as the 12
Pretty
of us.
natural, as if like a fly on the wall. If you were there,
Yeah,
that's what you'd hear like.
absolutely.
So like when they were rehearsing, then what she did was walk around the room and say, "Well, where do the mics go?"
Well, we had a ton.
Right? Where do the mics go?
She had
Carefully
Yep, she had them all in front of us. So we
Right.
didn't have individual mics, but she definitely had mics in front of each of us, up in the air everywhere. She was really, really great and fabulous at saying, we need to do these parts again. We had a great producer who actually sang with Consinity when we first started back in 2018. And it was a great experience. And our CD is called, or actually album, sorry, that dated me, didn't it? Our album is called Awaiting Golden Light.
Right.
And
Congratulations.
thank you. We are loving this experience and having a chance for our music and our style of singing together be sent out into the world, which is kind of new. It's gone a little bit further than we thought. We're really, really popular in Tokyo right now on Apple Music. So.
Well, that's one of the amazing things is with the internet, you don't know where you can go. It all depends on the other side. And, she's not going to mention this. Maybe she's low-key, but they just received a gold medal award from the Global Music Awards.
We did.
So congratulations on that.
Thank you.
That brings anybody to a larger audience to discover their music.
Yep.
So I think what we'll do now, I think we set the stage very well for you to hear. This is a short excerpt, and it's two pieces put together because they're different excerpts. Maybe you can set us up, talk about a composition from, let's see, Eric Barnum, right?
Yes.
Eric Barnum.
So this is Sweetheart of the Sun, and it's a story of a man who is in love with a woman, and he sees her out in the fields, and he realizes at the end, he wants to share his harvest and his home with her. It is a biblical story, but it's a story that many of us can also relate to in the way that it's presented in this song. And it's just, well, you'll hear. It's just a gorgeous a collection of the voices intermingling to show this vast landscape that you're seeing of her standing in the sun and the sun shining in her hair. And it's just a really beautiful song. And then the next song is Where is Love, a jazz arrangement.
That's a vocal now. That's a vocal in a different way with lyrics.
Oh, yeah. This one, Where is Love, is a vocal jazz arrangement of the song from Oliver. And we just recorded that. That one's not on our album, but we recorded that recently at our first rehearsal back together this September when we kind of came back. It was like, let's record a few things for social media purposes, and this is one of the ones that came out. It's doing really well on TikTok, so I'm like, we're going to share it.
Well, I've heard some of their recordings from previous shows, and the voices are really transcendent. So take a moment, turn the speakers up a little bit louder than normal, so there'll be no gongs going off. There'll be no Chinese gamelons attacking your ears right now. But just enjoy the rhythm of the voice, the sound, the texture, and we'll come back. Imagine the rehearsals for that. How about that? November 2nd is when they're going to bring this all to life again in Tallinn. And if you give the location and the name of the Facebook group, people can follow you all year long, but they can follow up on our chat today.
Absolutely. So we will be at United Congregational Church in Tolland on the Green, and the concert starts at 7 p.m. on November 2nd. And you can follow us easily. We're on Facebook, Instagram. We're on all of them, actually, for Voices of Consinity separately. So Consinity, CONCINNITYCT, and that's our handle for all of our socials for Consinity. But our parent group, our sponsoring group, is Consonare Choral Community, and that's CONSONARECT, and that's our handle for all of our social media for that. But if you want to just follow us all the time, our website is a great resource, and it's very simple, CONSONARE-sing.org.
You know, they say things start with kids, and I know as a young kid I got to hear Gregorian chants, and that was in the days of rock and roll. And even then I was not cold because of what happens when everything stops and it's only breathing with intentionality. And the combination of the two is beyond category. It's amazing. Rehearsals must be joyous to get everybody in tune, how to move together. It's like birds in flight. That's my analogy. When I heard them, I'm thinking of birds in flight sometimes. Some kind of synchronicity going on. Now, also, one more thing while we have Sarah here. Locally, closer to home, is other music on the 16th. So these are the community ensembles. So tell us about that.
Sure. Well, Consonare, we sponsor a number of choral ensembles and choral workshops, singing workshops to help build community through choral music in Connecticut. And so we have a soprano alto choir of adults. We have a youth choir that rehearses at the same time as the adults, so that there's a way for women who want to drop their kids off at the choir or youth choir.
So when you say youth, can you give me a picture of the age range?
Absolutely.
That's a big range.
Absolutely. We have two choirs. We have a 6 to 10-year-olds, and then 11 through about 16.
Okay.
And they are such a talented group of young singers. And we also have a community choir that rehearses in the spring. But our concert coming up on November 16th at St. Mary's in Willimantic will be Choir Matrix, which is our soprano alto choir, our youth choirs. And we're also collaborating with the Senior Center Chorus from Mansfield, because the whole point of this concert is called Mind the Gap. And Mind the Gap means, we realize that there is a lot that divides generations. So what can we do to find out what's within that gap and find ways to step over and create connections together? And so we're doing a lot of music that has to do with memories and experiences that are common to each. Our little 6-year-olds. We've got some little teeny tinies all the way up through the senior centers that'll be joining us. And so it is really meant for a wonderful evening of coming together and creating beautiful music together.
Yeah, and you don't need a stack of Marshall amplifiers, you really don't. And you know what this reminds me of is like when I was watching Charlie Brown as a kid, whenever the adults talked, you heard trumpets, bang, bang, bang. You didn't hear the words, right? It was always this other language across the age gap, or like thinning the veil between here and there. And how do you get there? And what's the difference? And if you feel a certain way, does it change because they're not here anymore? So that's a space that you kind of create with the voice. Absolutely. And I think music is a great intercessor in so many ways. Yeah. It's a good word for it, too. Oh, yeah. And it can bridge so many, especially through generations. I think music has a way of creating a beautiful bridge. And so it's been a little hard convincing some of those younger kids, the teens, to sing one of the older people songs, but we're getting it. Well, it only takes a handful to keep it going. It only takes a handful. Right. And when you see your peers checking it out, even for variety, it's like another way to look at it. Yeah. Right? Yeah. Well, Sarah Kaufold, I want to thank you very much for the good work she's doing with the voice and community and spirit. I wish you a great turnout. I'll be there with Rita that night. It should be very nice up in Tolland. So I'll be seeing you there. I wish you a good turnout. And also, they're going to have some holiday events in Manchester, and there are other events going on. So if you go to their social media sites, there's a lot that you can enjoy. So I wish you a great season, many opportunities ahead.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you. Okay.
You bet. Thanks.
Okay, so we're going to take a short break and come back and shift gears musically to the second annual music festival to benefit the American Roots Education Project and area musicians in need. I've got Scott Sebastian in the house. He'll be next. Stay with us. Okay, we're back live. I'm real happy to have you with us. You might be getting us live here on WILI on this Wednesday afternoon. We're part of that program block. They've recently doubled their afternoon airtime now, so it's 4 to 6 p.m. every day, 95.3 FM as well as 1400 AM. So we have shows on 4 to 6 Monday through Friday. We're here Wednesdays. If you go to the WILI radio channel on YouTube, you get them and they're posted. And we just mentioned that because the whole idea of this is to give you different ways to get our guests and to get their stories to you. Live radio is why we do it. We have fun live when we can, but if the information's there, the YouTube channel is always useful. If you subscribe, it's easy. Then you get every new show, and you can stay informed with all of our local events. And if you want to get involved here, the door is open to you. Just use the email to arrange a good time, john@humanartsmedia.com, and we'll get you right here to get your word out. So I'm happy to be sharing the studio now with Scott Sebastian. As I learn more about Scott, he has ran 2 music studios for many years in Connecticut, but he's here today to talk about a special event, the second annual festival to benefit the American Roots Music Education Project and also area musicians in need. It's coming up on November 9th in New Britain. So, Scott, thanks for a life in music, first of all, because whatever you're doing in the studios, you're helping people keep music alive in that way.
That's what we try to do.
That's what you do, and now you're doing it to also serve the community as well as help musicians in need. So it's a nice way to keep that all together.
It is.
Really nice. So tell us about the festival. It's your second year. What was your biggest surprise from the first year once you got through the first one, which is often the hardest one to get going?
It was really the coordination. It was our first real major music festival. This is the Connecticut Rhythm and Blues Festival.
Right.
And the first year, you know, we had a lot of chaos, but it was kind of organized chaos.
That's what I say, yeah.
We hold it at Trinity on Main, which is an old, beautiful church in downtown New Britain.
Nice.
Turned into a performance space now run by a nonprofit. They do a great job. They have an amazing sound system, great people there. They were really, really willing to work with us on the price and working out, getting in there. We have the whole facility, green rooms, front rooms, rotunda. We brought in a Polish caterer to do pierogies and kielbasa.
Oh, my goodness, high calorie.
We tried to stick with the New Britain theme. Last year, our headliner was Vanessa Collier. She did unbelievable. One of the things we try to do is not only have the headliner, but then bring in regional and local bands. So an example is the winner of the Connecticut Blues Challenge always gets the opening spot. And then we bring in a regional band. So this year we have Carl Ritchie and the 706 Union Ave Band as the opener. They won the Connecticut Blues Society Challenge. Then we have Leanne Lovelace Band, which is a 10-piece R&B original band. It's really, really going to be something special to see. We have a little surprise. I can say it here.
I'm ready.
One of our causes is blues education, and we donated money to Queen Anne of Nzinga, which is an organization in New Britain, Plainville, and Bristol, for kids, for arts, dance, music, and art as well. They're going to come up and play a couple of songs. They're going to do a couple of R&B songs for us. So we're going to have the kids come in.
Wow.
And then our 2 main acts, Solomon Hicks, he's out of the Bronx, New York. He is an up-and-coming, amazing artist. It'll be a 3-piece band.
Yeah, from Yonkers, man, right up the street.
The bass player is Kurt Yano, who is a Grammy Award-winning producer. And then our headliner, John Nemeth, he just won the 2024 Blues Foundation Award for Best Soul Artist. And we signed him, and the following week he won. So we're kind of lucky because it probably would have cost us a lot more a week later. We are really excited. Last year we were able to donate over $6,000 to Blues Education and Musicians Lifeline.
Yeah.
So it's a great event. Tickets are $45, I think they are. At the door, they're $50. You can buy them online, ctbluesfest.com. Yeah. You are supporting, we are a 501c, so we are, 100% nonprofit. None of us get paid. We're all volunteers.
That's an act of love, man.
Yeah. We have a good relationship with the Connecticut Blues Society. I play double duty. I'm the president of the Connecticut Blues Society. I am the vice president of the Connecticut Rhythm and Blues Festival. We donate money to the Connecticut Blues Society, who then gives that money out to the kids' programs.
You've got two axes, man. You've got two axes.
My wife runs the Connecticut Rhythm and Blues Festival.
There you go.
I do what I'm told. She told me to be here and be on the radio, and I listened.
Well, see, the thing is, you should jot down this website because that music is mixed in with a lot of other traditional, they call it Americana, but it's a gumbo of the roots of our country, which is this is an expression of that, R&B before rock and roll, where that came from. So keeping that alive with the next generation. A lot of people in jazz are very encouraged by the new generation, but they're not getting the media support they used to. The media is not paying attention. Blues, it's wonderful. People are very loyal. People go to shows, but getting blues on the radio, WWUH has a blues show, an excellent blues show. Blues Before Sunrise, I think. I forget the name, but it's a great blues show. But there's only a handful.
It's a very, very smart and successful musician producer here in Connecticut told me, here's blues. You start off when you're 12, 13 years old, you're playing guitar, you're going to learn the blues. This is what you're going to do. And then eventually you're going to be in your 20s and you're going to go to rock or punk or R&B or disco or whatever you're going to do. And then around 45, you start coming back down that curve, and here come the blues again. And next thing you know, you're at a blues jam, and you're showing up, and you're saying hi to me. So that's kind of it. We all start at the blues. It's our true American music. It started with us.
It is.
There is an amazing program that we support. Going to happen on, I think it's November 6th in the New Britain Public Library, and it's called Blues 101, and it is the history of the blues.
Wow!
And it's a program that we are the Connecticut Blues Society through the CTRB is paying for that because it's how it goes from beginning to end, like where it started with the single string guitar all the way up. It's really unbelievable.
That's kind of the African connection, right?
It starts right at slavery and works its way all the way up until today.
Yeah.
So
when does that series begin now? Is that going to be...
That is, so those go through different public libraries. Dan Stevens, he is a Delta Blues genius out of Connecticut here.
Okay.
He's won the Connecticut Blues Challenge once or maybe twice.
Okay.
He runs that program. We sought it out and said, this is a program we want to support.
Yeah.
So the example is he calls a library, he says it's this much money, and they say, yeah, we don't have any money. He says, I can get a grant from the Connecticut Blues Society to bring this to your library.
That's fabulous.
And then he calls me, and then we help take care of it.
That's one of the reasons why we have Scott here, is we're trying to use our regional media just to connect the dots, because part of the trouble is people knowing about things, If this is a real need, nobody has to hype it with advertising. You don't have to fake it. It's a real need. People just need to know where to go and when. That's such a difficult wall with promotion.
Oh, it is.
Right?
It's I'm a nuts and bolts propeller head type guy. You tell me to create a spreadsheet that'll do dances and I'm great, but how to promote our shows, honestly, I'm probably not the best at it, and I look to others to help.
So, speaking of help, something else that Scott's doing that's another whole layer on the onion is also helping the creators who create the music that we gather to celebrate. There's an organization I'm learning about called Musicians Lifeline that you connect to. Talk about that and how some of this is helping musicians that for whatever reason in life, they need a little help.
So Musicians Lifeline is an amazing organization, and it's regional based. So it's based out of Connecticut, but I believe they handle New England as well. And it's there for the musicians when they need help. It could be a tank of oil. It could be a doctor bill being negotiated. It could be just simple help. Our musicians, I got to tell you, some of the best musicians we have in the state of Connecticut, let's say some of them are in their 70s, are still working part-time jobs today. Because while they were entertaining us our entire lives, they were still not making the kind of money or the 401k or the health benefits or anything like that. They gave their lives to entertaining us, and they're kind of left with not a lot at the end of the day. A great example, in the 1980s, I was in a rock band, and we used to make $100 a person.
What was the band called, by the way?
It was called The Rain. It was in downtown Hartford. We did very well.
The Rain.
We made about four of us in the band. We made about $400 a night. Today, if you call a club today and say, I want to get my band in there and I have a following and I'm a blues band, you are lucky if you can get $100 a person. So they're getting paid $400 in 2024. In 1988, they're getting the same amount of money.
Yeah. Yeah.
But most of them, it doesn't matter because they don't do it for the money.
Yeah.
But they need help. So that's where Musicians Lifeline comes in.
That's nice.
They do several fundraisers throughout the year. I'm not on that board, surprisingly. But the Connecticut Rhythm and Blues Festival, that is one of our main recipients of money. We donate half of the money that we make to that organization because we think it's an incredible organization. And the people that run it, like Christine Ullman, Kim Reiner, they're amazing. They're Tim McDonald. They're unbelievable, and they're passionate, and we want to help them. So,
well, as soon as you mention Christine Ullman, the beehive will drop down from the ceiling like Groucho Marx's TV show, and she's here. Hello, Christine Ullman. We've had her on the show many times.
She's wonderful.
She is awesome. Well, she's the queen. Now, something that's happened, I want to talk to Scott about while we have time, is the music industry, because he ran studios for a long time in Bristol and also in Burlington. So he's working with people who are trying to get their music together for the industry. And I wonder, this is probably, some of it was pre-streaming. And I just wondered today, how you think the technology is helping musicians find a way to make a living. Because the clubs have disappeared. When we grew up, there were things called jazz clubs.
Yeah.
And you could be 18 years old. You could be drafted to go to Vietnam. You could get married and procreate. You could probably sign a mortgage. But you couldn't have a beer and drink responsibly and have a local place like Shabu. So I just wonder, when that place was lost, a social space was gone. And I know about drunk driving, and I understand why some people wanted to raise the age. I think it was a mistake myself, because you're not letting people learn how to be responsible at a younger age so they don't have to overdo it and go crazy at festivals and do silly things when they tailgate before a concert, right? Because people like to get together. So so you've worked with musicians for a while, and you're dealing with music today. How does this play out for the media helping musicians, or is it in the way? Sorry for a long question.
No, it's fine. I'm not 100% sure. It's something I've been in my brain struggling with, especially when it comes to the streaming versus CDs. We had a quick conversation in the lobby about
share that, would you?
In the lobby is the Connecticut Blues Society produced a CD probably 10 years ago, and it's time for us to produce a new one. And what we do is we have all of our local blues bands submit an original song. It has to be original. It can't do a cover.
Right.
We're not dealing with ASCAP and BMI or any of that stuff.
That's right.
And then we would produce this CD, and then you will give it away when you join the Connecticut Blues Society, or it's $10. We always make it very affordable. And we're in the process of putting this together, and probably 2025 we're going to do it. And we've had a lot of discussions on whether we should just stream or whether we should do the CD. We have decided that I think we're most likely going to do the CD, because our members have said, I want one in my hand. That's what I want. Now, but our members are not the younger generation. We're working on getting them into our membership with scholarship programs and Blues 101 for Kids programs that we're running, but they're not all there yet. How does that work? If you're an artist and you sell a CD and it cost you so much money to do it, and you bought so many CDs, you can easily figure out, okay, the first 100 I sell paid for this, the rest is my profit. It seems with streaming, they don't seem to get that monetary at all. It's like everybody's making money but themselves, and it just seems it'd be a hard living, I think, to make. It's one aspect if you want to say, well, I want this music to go out to I want my music to go out to the masses. But there has to come a time where you're going to say, well, I also would like to get paid.
Well, this is what Christine Ullman and I've talked about a lot, because it's a wave. It's like, the beauty is anybody can create now and distribute, and that used to be impossible. You used to have to get a record label to let you into their studio to be able, because you could never afford a studio. It was always out of your reach. Somebody else had it. Now anybody can do this, and it's a beautiful thing. But when you put it out there, it's a wave. So how do you get known? And I guess the question is now with streaming, musicians are not making a living. The streaming rates, unless you're Bono.
Yeah, they're not making a living on that.
Right? What do you hear from people who like streaming, but do they, realize musicians are not making money off this? They're just not, unless they're superstars.
Well, when we have band, like, let's just take the Connecticut Rhythm and Blues Festival, we're going to have Solomon Hicks and John Nemeth there. Huh. I know a touring musician, the way they make their money is not just that gig. Their real money is the merchandise. So
it's true.
We give them a table and a person if they need to help set it up, because we want our people to go buy their T-shirts and buy their CDs, because that's their money.
It makes a big difference.
And when you see regional artists, like let's say there's a really amazing artist named Taz Crew, who's out of upstate New York, and he tours the country. I'll call him regional, but he's national. Whenever you see him play, and I've seen him play many, many times, he's played in my living room. He has a box, and it has all his CDs, and it has his shirts. And everybody needs to know that is what's really supporting. That's what's really, like, if he's paying the band to be on tour with him, that's his money. That's the money that he actually gets to make. So buy merchandise if it's there, if it's a keychain, if it's a T-shirt, whatever it is, buy it. I mean, the Connecticut Blues Society, whenever we have at a function, we'll have a little booth, and we have our T-shirts and our stickers and our hats and that kind of stuff. That's, the $20 a year to become a member is amazing. It's what keeps us alive, but that's what really helps us get to the next level. So.
By the way, in case you've just joined us on the radio and you're not watching us on YouTube, I'm speaking with Scott Sebastian today. And the website is ctbluesfest.com. That's for this event happening on November 9th. Trinity-on-Main in New Britain is the event, 7:30. You had mentioned something interesting about the requirement for CDs. Scott's going to be heading out at some point to Memphis again for the Blues Challenge.
Yep, we'll be leaving right in the beginning of January.
There you go. And there was an interesting thing where bands that qualified, that were good enough, that passed some tests to get in there, they were almost eligible to get into the challenge, but they didn't have physical CDs. And they couldn't get in, even though Scott was trying to get them in. So you had an obstacle for these bands. So how'd that play out?
So every year, the Connecticut Blues Society, every affiliate of blues.org, of the Blues Foundation, we're not required, but we're encouraged to have a challenge. We have a challenge for a band. We have a challenge for a solo duo artist. And we have a challenge for a CD. And the band that wins and the solo duo artist that wins go down to Memphis to represent Connecticut in the International Challenge. There will be over 200 acts that will compete for 4 days in downtown Memphis on Beale Street. It's an amazing time. This is, I think, my wife Ellen and I think this is our 6th year going.
Wow, it's kind of like Mecca.
I've judged down there. I have gone and helped out. I'm now actually was just nominated I'm now on the affiliate committee of blues.org, so I've volunteered to help down there as well. But one of the challenges is the CD challenge. This year, for the first time, I wound up with 2 or 3 entries. But I had 6 or 7 people that wanted to enter. But it was streaming only with their artwork.
Yeah.
The Blues Foundation doesn't accept that. So this is just something that I have to bring up when we go down there, because that happened once or twice with one, but not more than actually entered. Yeah. So if that's going to be the way, we are going to have to mold and bend like a reed in the wind and move with progress and figure out how that's going to work. I mean...
Yeah. That's an obstacle. Even though it may not be an intentional design, it's an obstacle.
And actually, if you think about it, it shouldn't be an obstacle.
Yeah.
I have to personally take 4 CDs, go to the post office, overnight them, send them down. That artist who wins has to send me 7 CDs, 3 for the judging and 4 if they win. If it was all streaming, it would just simply be a link.
Yeah.
Instantaneous, an email.
Yeah, some transfer.
So, you know, I see the pros and cons, but I think I'm going to move towards the progress. But, you know.
Now, here's a question, too, about economics. It's been a while since I've had to buy CDs for a band, but you got to buy a certain minimum. And I just wondered, is if somebody has to have a CD to qualify, and they have to have a certain minimum number for the manufacturer to make them, how does that play out in terms of the overall cost? Is it a deal breaker? Like if somebody wanted vinyl now, you have to get in line. There's only a few factories left that make vinyl now. So many closed. Now you take a number and wait in line. Even big stars are waiting.
We just bought Matt Guitar Murphy.
Oh, yeah.
Album on Sunday when we did the benefit for the Mike Crandall Scholarship Fund.
Cool.
They had had a booth there, and we're promoting it and we were like, oh, we'll buy that. We still have our record player.
Hey.
Look, CDs used to be really. I mean, Disc Maker was like the big one. Okay,
Right.
they're the gorilla, the 500-pound gorilla.
Yeah.
And they do a great job. I'm not knocking them.
Sure.
And they had like their minimum. Today though, you can make. I think the cutoff is 500. Under 500 won't get you a Glass Master. A Glass Master is what you want here as opposed to a CDR, meaning it might not play and everything. Right. So I think the cutoff for a Glass Master is around 500
copies.
Units. Yeah, 500 copies.
Right.
So there's companies out there, there's Atomic, there's a whole bunch of them out there that will make small batch for you. You know, they'll be happy to do that.
Okay. That's a recent thing. That's good to know you have the option, because for a while it wasn't always available.
I mean, I used to have a robot, and it would make like 500 at a time, but it didn't make the Glass Master. But these were for local artists who just wanted to put them out themselves.
Sure,
and,
sure, yeah.
So, when it comes to that stuff, all that prices and everything have come down. Records have gone ridiculous, and like you said, you know, it's really hard to even get on the list to get them. But
yeah.
But they're selling again. I'm waiting for 8-tracks to come back.
Oh, man, 8-track. Hey, you know what I found out? Somebody sent me a photo. Cassius Clay in his car in the 50s, and he had a record player inside the car. So when he was visiting somewhere, and the car wasn't driving, obviously, he could play his records in the car on his radio. That's when you got creativity, right? Sting like a bee. Okay, well, look, again, the website is ctbluesfest.com. I want to thank Scott Sebastian for being here and for all the work he's doing for the music and to give us ways to go and hear it live, which is the best way. As nice as recordings are, they never get the whole story. You know, you got to be in the room. You got to be in the room. Mics are only good for so much, people. You know what I'm talking about, too. That's magical stuff. So I wish you great success again. This is on November 9th at 7:30. All the information's on the website. I wish
2:30.
2:30. Okay.
I'm sorry, 2 o'clock doors open, 2:30 music starts.
Okay, so 7:30 was wrong. Okay, 2:30. Afternoon gig. All righty. So I wish you a great success, and we'll stay in touch as your move moves forward.
Thank you very much. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much, Scott. Okay, we're going to take a short musical break now and come back. We've got a lot of arts news to share with you and some funding information. Don't go away. This is Procol Harum. Enjoy.
At first just ghostly, turn the wider shade of pale. just go sleep. Turn the wider shade of pale.
All right, I hope you enjoyed that. One of the great tunes, Wider Shade of Pale, Procol Harum, Gary Brooker. I'll tell you a little story about that, share too often. Gary Brooker was my very first radio interview. I was 18 years old at Syracuse University in Syracuse, New York, WAER radio. 18. He was a major star in the day. That was such an international hit. You may probably know the melody by now. I was starstruck. I was nervous as hell. And I go to the interview at the stadium, at the War Memorial of all places. They were opening for 10 years after. And he could have eaten me alive. I was nervous. Skinny kid with glasses, talking about Matthew Fisher and all this stuff about their Gothic roots and Bach. And he was like an older brother. He was so generous and friendly and polite. He relaxed me. He told me stories. The reason why I share that with you is that go to meet your idols. Go to meet someone that's so important to you that you get nervous, and find out when they treat you like just another person. It's a life experience. It was a wonderful thing that he did. So from that day on, of course, I love the music anyway. But it was the idea of helping people along their way. And I've always used the studio kind of to pass on that favor. Because a lot of people come in here and they're nervous. These damn microphones get people weirded out, let alone a goddamn camera. It makes you nervous because you don't do it all the time. So we try to get that out of the way so you can tell your stories here. And that's kind of why we try to keep this show going. This whole radio station does local talk shows, and they're all trying to get to you with information because local news is limited these days. Our local newspapers are limited with what they can do. But life is the same. Life goes on. But local stories are what keep it going. And that's why we're doing this show here, at least for the arts and the community here for On the Homefront. So what I have to do with a few minutes today, I'm going to give you some news, some local events. I want to thank you very much. I'm getting lots of email. John@humanartsmedia.com is the address. And that's how you can arrange to come in here and get in the studio and tell your story. This microphone is here for you, by the way. Right there, that's for you. I heard from Phoebe Godfrey. Tomorrow night, a last-minute thing. Just in time for the elections, you got to see Charlie Chaplin in The Great Dictator. If you've never seen it, it's a fabulous film about Germany in World War II and the humor and the psychology that Chaplin brings to his role as Hitler is unbelievable. It's going to be at 7 o'clock. Doors open at 6:30, a few blocks away from here at 31 Moulton Court, just up the road. It's a great art space. They do special events. They have molten lava art shows during the year once in a while. But now, the 24th, just before elections, it's a great time to see what happens when Adolf Hitler plays with the globe and tosses the ball, tosses the world in the air. It's an incredible movie. Thank you, Phoebe, for doing this. 7 o'clock tomorrow night. What else do we have for you? There are people in the northeast corner that are trying to do singing. I got a note from Calvin, and I promised him that I would mention it. Pardon me while I fumble. They're doing it at the Vanilla Bean, and they're doing it on the second Friday, so it's on November 8th. It's called the Friday Sing, and they're doing all kinds of events tying into Americana, ancient Scottish music, tying into the music of New England and connecting here with that part of Europe. So it's at the Vanilla Bean. It's on the second Friday of each month. And if you want to do a search on it, what you want to do is do a search on the Friday Sing, and you'll get that address. Or just check the Vanilla Bean. It's in Pomfret, second Fridays. Check it out. Thank you. I want to mention that. Also, up at Eastern, they have a special show coming up on November 1st We had the producer here. We had the director and the writer. Kane Wagner was here with Sayani Jackson. The Last American Jackrabbit is on November 1st. It's one night only at Eastern at the Del Monte Black Box Theater. So check that out on November 1st. What else do we have? On October 26th, Lee DeRosier's is going to be. We had Karen Wawrinski here a couple of weeks ago, and we had Lee on the phone. She'll be doing poetry at the Vanilla Bean on the 26th at 7 to 9 p.m. And they also have an open mic. The series is getting momentum. People are showing up. Having a chance to share your poetry is really a lot of fun. It gives people a chance to put themselves out there. And also hear somebody who's done very well, who's worked hard, and they share their craft with you. So Lee is up on the 26th. Okay, that's just about it for right now. We're here Wednesdays live. We'll see you next week. We thank you very much for sharing your time. Take care.